For the most part, most of my people actually had a pretty leisurely life of basically being taken care of. I mean, there were moments when they actually had to do things and run things and stuff, but for the most part, for a large part of probably 150 years, my people didn't really have to worry about much because I was handling almost everything. If there was an epidemic, I was on the scene. I was dealing with it one way or another, um, or I had people that were dealing with it. Um, by the time of the 1900s and 1800s, it's basically pretty much a cakewalk for all the head people or head family members. I mean, there were times in the past, the 1700s and or the young early years of my existence where things were quite hectic. They were difficult. Getting I mean, there were mine cave-ins. There was accidents with dynamite. There was real issues to deal with in the early days, in the first like 150 years or 200 years or whatever of my existence. Um, but then once, like I say, the first couple hundred years were kind of kind of hectic, and then by about 1,500 or so, like it was pretty much just modern kind of society a little bit. Just dealing with little things. But there was enough people to handle everything, so it wasn't really that big of a deal by the time 1700 and 1800 rolled around. The only big deals were the massive projects that were still going on. Like building canals that happened 1700 to 1800, and some other stuff. But I mean, a lot of the stuff, like we got steel pretty early on. The Mayans and the Incas, like thousands of years ago, I had dealt with most things. So um, anyway, it's kind of relative. It's a little more hectic to deal with it back in the day and how I dealt with it and everything. And then pretty much by 1700, 1900, everything was just ticking over. Pretty easy for me too. Although there are still some hectic moments from 1800 on to about 1900. And then there was the war or supposed war or whatever. All other wars were basically bullshit except for the one real war, possible war, which was mostly I bombed a couple of my own factories, which were empty at the time, of course. And the local people actually did it. It wasn't actually, like, I don't know, there's some weird stuff in there, but mostly it was all just fake stuff. At least I did some fake stuff, but I don't know. There might have been some real death. I'm not exactly sure how that worked out. But anyway, that was a bad point in my life. But I think that was more present day messing with me or something like that, which actually may have caused some real world consequences because present day was like it's like I am this person, and by fucking with me, like back in 1980, if I said bomb New York. New York would have been wiped off the map. Gone. Because that's who I was. So, if I perceived New York as a threat, New York would have been obliterated, and everyone on it. Now, which is why in 1980 you don't fuck with a world ruler. Because shit like that does happen. Because literally by 1980, I had my private air force. I had my own explosives. I had battleships. If I wanted to eliminate New York City could die 7 ways from Sunday. Literally. It could be nuked. It could be shelled. And those poor people would just die. never knowing why this army had decided to besiege it. So, that's why fucking with a world ruler in 1980 was not a good idea. And though I tried to stop real world consequences, there may have been some real world consequences. Because I had spent 700 years being this person, becoming this person. So what I said was more than law. It was fact and action, and jets would be scrambled, and one city in America would no longer exist. Battleships would appear off the coast and literally train their guns on there and more than happily shell New York City. It wouldn't exist anymore. And people would be like, oh, you mean the revolt that happened in New York City? Yeah, didn't you hear about that? That's why they bombed it, man. You know, which was the power I had. I had my own battleships, I had my own aircraft, I had my own bombers. So any city, anywhere in the world that I deemed a problem would have been removed. And that was that. Which is why I get so angry at some bleepity bleep head, because it's like, I was a world ruler for 700 years, and whatever I said was done. Now, I know this, and which is why all my actions are so fucking careful. I don't, at times I even didn't make decisions because I knew my decisions might be wrong. And I told people to go find out for themselves and then act accordingly. So, which is why, it's like, nowadays we have governments and all kinds of stuff which deal with and can, make sure that I don't accidentally eliminate a city that doesn't need to be eliminated. Because I don't want to be a murderer. And my people don't want to be murderers. So they have people that know things and they act accordingly. So, because I did spend 700 years to a couple thousand years being world ruler. So, which means basically, but I always was careful. Anytime I was going to bomb a city or anything else like that, they dropped leaflets, they did all kinds of crap, warning the people. Because I knew that there would be people that would fuck with me. And I don't know, maybe it's kind of cool in some dimension where you fuck with a world ruler and 5 million people are snuffed out. Maybe that's funny to somebody. But to me it wasn't funny, and I'm sure to the people that would die, and I'm sure to the people that were killing the innocent people, it wouldn't be funny either. So, which is why I was so careful. And people might have died anyway. Even with all my controls, even with all my carefulness, people still might have gotten killed. And then, of course, there's the people that seem to take pleasure from the fact of making me think that maybe I did kill people. And maybe that feels good to some people. Anyway. So, in 1980, 1990, and on in years, I was being extremely careful of what I ordered, what I wanted done, because I knew who I really was. I've always known it. So, anyway, and I got people to run things for me because I knew that the possibility of me accidentally ordering a city destroyed for no reason was pretty extreme. Very possible. Because I knew I had invented all these things. I knew who I was, but apparently somebody, didn't want other people to know. Or something. Or they just wanted to screw with me. I don't know. I didn't care. Anyway. In the end, we got through it, got past it, and New York City and a lot of other cities hopefully didn't die. I was very careful about everything I did, and I ordered my people to be just as careful about everything they did. To the point where people could actually take care of some, or take advantage of some of my orders, because knowing that my people wouldn't shoot first, they would shoot first and kill my people. Which is why it's like situational awareness and training my people to be able to deal with that. So I faced a lot of problems that a lot of people are like, hey man, we can just do this. It's like, they're just disrespectful pieces of shit. Anyway, yeah, so whatever. Anyway, it's a sad story of loser people basically. But anyway, I got my people through it, I think, and got my countries through it, and the problems weren't all that extreme, I don't think, because there are so many people here today.